Look at these guys.
Long time no see.
What's up, Whit?
There you go.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
We're building the future.
Are we doing
James.
your vlog again?
We're building the future.
I had no idea you were here. Really good to see you.
I wasn't good. This is a serendipity.
Yeah.
I was like, let me just go here because I'm showing a friend around.
The tribe is forming.
Thank you for the camera. So I'm just gonna say what the three areas are, in my opinion. So the first thing, which is pretty out there, but I think is the most interesting, is I think almost all of us, and also maybe 5-10 other people that I've met, are quite interested in creating, these things all come in the same bucket, but a new ideology, global governance structure, and maybe network state or something to complement that for like the age of advanced AI, AGI. So I think that's something that I've sort of seen with a lot of people here. It could be worth jamming on. I think that's a little bit further out, but I also think that we probably have like about a decade until AI just takes over everything. So anyway, that's one.
Anyone else? Timelines? Decade?
That's
It's gonna timeline check.
I would say
2035.
I don't know if AI will ever take over everything.
Not never
But
everything.
it will definitely influence a lot.
Okay.
And definitely in the
Transformational?
next 5 years. Transformational already.
We already have AGI, so
That's
right.
right,
It's
sure.
2022.
Agreed.
No, right now we have the academia AGI. It's not
Okay,
smart at doing
AGI.
actions in the words.
And that's what we're here to change.
We need the
That's
muscle
what we're here to
cortex, baby.
But
We have the
top is,
prefrontal cortex. We don't have the muscle cortex. That's when shit really gets interesting.
Animal brain, bro. Robots.
When you can, prompt your botnet army to go do shit for you and to persuade
My
people.
housemates are working on it.
When your botnet army builds religions that farms and pushes people towards higher ideologies,
So
that extracts
one bucket.
and brings out the
Yeah.
natural fire within all man.
All right, Jen. So
I'm
that's
preaching.
that's bucket number one.
So Jackson said a religion vote.
You said in 3 years? You said?
What?
You said no.
Um,
You said 2035. You were just talking about religion, but what's your year for AGI? How would you define that?
Whenever you wake up,
I also agree that we already have AGI. It's not human level AGI, but.
it's just waiting for you.
So we have AI as one bucket.
So the other buckets, just like community building in general and co-living. Like Jack has his campus in India. I've got my giant co-living space here. Lucas has a place in Cambridge now. You've got the residency, so it's a little bit different than co-living as an educational component to that. But anyway, so it's we all have these sort of physical community building things, so that's interesting. And I think we're also we're all fairly value aligned. And then the third thing, which is maybe a little bit overlapping with the co-living, but I would say it's a little bit different. Residency, HS0, like an in real life build space sort of thing, the dojo. I think that's maybe it's like the co-living with like an educational component. I think we're all fairly interested in that as well. You're doing that. Jack is looking at doing something similar in India. I'm also I think when I'm not doing the other stuff that I mentioned with the first two buckets, I think I'll probably spend whatever other time I have contributing to some program like that. I actually think it's a great business, and it would just enhance my own productivity and also anyone else who joins it. But anyway, so those are kind of the three buckets where I see a lot of overlap between the circles of the 5 of us that are here. Yeah, I guess I don't know you quite as well, but I think a decent amount of the stuff does overlap with some of the things you're interested in. But anyway, so yeah, that's just kind of throwing that out there is okay, where can we find any cross section of these things where we can maybe join forces?
Yeah, I definitely think getting young, talented people is a big part of that. Having them come to one of these programs or co-living or be a part of this AI network, whatever that
Extract from the youth.
Awesome. So
abstract. Give them
So
opportunity. To make them go to college and sit in class for 4 years.
So on that note, I would say that I am, in all of this, one of the things that I'm primarily interested in is the recruiting side. So I would love to, and I'm gonna start this in 2 days. So I'm starting to go around to college campuses and just find anyone who's value aligned, vibe aligned with the people in this room, and just find as many of them as I can. And I do think that it's hard to replace being on the ground and meeting people in real life. So for just sort of feeling people out. So anyway, and I want to do that for a lot of the college campuses, US tech hubs, and also international tech hubs. I want to go to IIT in India. I want to go to Tel Aviv, other places that have a lot of talent, London, and just find as many of these people as I can. And hopefully I can find and make a good, community for 500 or 1,000 people that are kind of like this, and then go from there. Maybe there's not that many people. I don't know. I guess I'm going to find out on this tour that I'm starting in literally 2 days. Berkeley's my first stop, then I'm going to Boston, and I'm staying with Lucas, and I'm visiting, Harvard and MIT.
Where are
and
you
I'll just
staying
keep
in
doing
Berkeley?
that. Oh, nowhere. I'm just, I live here, so it's an easy commute.
But Arcadia or Andromeda.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Technically the residency.
I don't know if Arcadia has any video spots, but
I've got a guest bedroom.
okay.
Kick someone out.
Cool.
Andromeda does.
Yeah. So I would love to. So yeah, if you guys have any recruiting things that you'd like to see happening, I'm happy to one easy collaboration is, for any of your guys' projects, I'm happy to, do plugs on the tour where I can feed people to your respective projects. Yeah. So that's one easy thing.
He's got a ton of hackathons and like lists of people through that too.
Oh, I'm gonna create a list of hackathon winners.
Dude, that's what I was doing. So that was my whole idea, is I get the finalists and put like a whole, I've gone through each global and all the other ones and gotten like, scrape all the finalists and put them somewhere. So
Okay, me too.
Yeah, no, we're on the same page. They're on the same page. Hackathon finalists, right?
Yeah,
Winners.
so the thing that I'm excited about is like once we have people, giving them the environment to thrive.
Yep.
Like I think cohort models are very important where people all come in at the same time.
Agreed.
So they're interacting, becoming friends, bonding, have that social community right away. And then I think there's a lot of things that you can do to make a good productive environment where they're actually building their startups. So like working sessions where they're doing Pomodoro sprints is one idea, and like weekly review sessions and weekly coaching sessions. So for the residency, that's what I'm doing this year, is just testing out those different components that would help make them more productive to build their startups. So that's kind of an area of like programming is what excites me.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, that's not my jam, but I mean that sounds like definitely like a critical component in building out this ecosystem. So that's awesome. And then two thoughts on that. One, I'd love to hear your thoughts on HF0. I mean, it seems like they're really nailing a lot of those details. And then two is I think Jack's setup. I haven't visited yet. Need to do that, but I think his setup is super interesting because one, it's insanely cheap for, I don't know if you want to pitch it because it's your thing, but like for $1,000 a month, you get your own bedroom, your own office, food and cooking every day, and maid service. And for $1,000 a month, you get like how many technical interns from the nearby Indian colleges? Like
So
you said 3?
the intern price per month is $120.
For full time?
Yeah, but
A month.
actually, when it comes to January, that's when the second semester starts, and that's when this sort of startup semester starts, where I believe it's like 800 people, which will basically be free working full time on building startups. What I do want to do for that is just like, if I can get smart people who are ideas people, who can just command their own team of like 40 tech graduates, and kind of build these mini venture studios, then I think that's super worthy. And it basically, like, we have more opportunity than we can really manage. We have more ideas than we can really manage. These people have way more fucking time and tech talent than they can manage, but they lack opportunities and connections. And so it's hyper serendipitous to bring the Silicon Valley network over to the techies. And also just like there's extreme devotion and different type of work culture over there. You're not only paying a lot less, but you're actually having people who are way more appreciative to have like a cool job and like still have this dog in them. The culture of a third world country, they're still the underdog. There's, and that's that the best teams in the world act like underdogs always.
Jack, can you give me, so what is the monthly cost for your own room, your own workspace, and then the food and cleaning, like for just that, no labor?
Yeah, so I have a 3-bedroom high-rise apartment. It's got gym, sauna, steam room, and I pay $300 a month for rent. A full-time maid who comes every day.
That's included in the 300?
No, that's $100 a month.
Okay, 400.
300 for a 3-bedroom.
Yeah.
Oh, so $100 a room. Okay, so $100 a room.
Yeah.
All right, so maid is 100. So 200. I'm trying to get how much unit economics. I'm trying to get how much it costs for a single person.
Then I had the biggest ACs installed because I like it really cold. So I pay $300 also in electricity per month.
Hilarious. They pay
Same cost, yeah. My electricity cost is the same as mine.
That's wild.
My rent, because the people use AC sparingly out there, because it's something of save electricity. Yeah.
Berkeley, it's $3,000 a month per person at least.
What?
For electricity.
Right.
Yeah, rent's $2,000.
Right.
Yeah, I'm in a 2-bedroom at $7K. And there's a shooting and a stabbing right outside.
Yep.
Wait, you have a 2-bedroom for $7K?
Yeah, it's nice though.
The India differential is 20x in labor and rent costs.
So all right. So bedroom 100, electricity another 100. Per person. Cleaning 100.
Per person 30.
So 300. What about food? Chef. And
Pretty
food?
cheap.
Any sense for including the chef's labor cost and plus the food? Any sense for how much?
Chef's cheap, $100 a month.
Okay, that's 400.
Oftentimes you can get a maid that cooks as well because you don't need her to clean 8 hours a day. You just
And how much do you think it costs to buy the food?
But it all seems still 1,000.
Definitely under
Yeah.
Oh, definitely under one. So okay, let's say another 100 for food. So 500. You got your food, your chef, your maid, your bedroom, your electricity, and then what about an office space?
Also the university Right now, I'm in their Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center. They are building a whole new one for the purpose of like, you know, kind of, they asked me, what should we do with this basement of the hostel next door?
Yeah.
Which is like, I guess it's maybe like 8,000 square feet, 2 floors. So they're adding like a gym up above, I think like sauna. And then the bottom floor looks like something like this. I can show renders of like and that's being built right now. So that's like the future space there.
Okay.
Sort of war room type vibe.
I'm gonna say another 100 for office space. So we're looking at like 500 to 600 for covering all of your expenses per month. Is that fair? Not including the extra labor stuff. That's pretty. I don't know. I think that's a game changer.
As long as they funnel,
Yeah.
they funnel everybody to that.
So my idea was also to do like fellowship through my systemic altruism. Like as you guys know, EA was super powerful. I just ran I don't know if I told you this, you obviously know about like my recruitment stack layer, which is where I just have like, you know, basically running digital hackathons through some of the bigger, fresher websites. And so like for Christine Peterson, she had this idea for like a neighborhood startup. She started Foresight Institute, but she's also coming on as an advisor for systemic altruism and taught me like that is the goated method is you get really smart people who just want to work on like super high-end stuff, have them become a fellow. Like Foresight Institute has a lot of these fellowships, and then you host fundraisers, you know, at somewhere at a cool house or a event space, and you make sure all your fellows come, and you make sure your fellows know that they are there just to shill to the big names who come, and just talk about how like the fellowship helped them and how they should give money to the thing. That's like the funnel type thing, right? You know, if you have that like support from very smart people, that's really powerful in the social setting. And so these events then do super well. So that's like, to me, that's why network state India seems like it's the most scalable, is literally just because once the social network is there, you know, it's just like we can provide such a higher quality experience for so much less. When the media's coming out of that, people are just gonna be like, why the fuck am I not there? I want to do like banquet style large dinners, you know, and like Kim Kardashian cut fruit in the morning that's laid out on the table, like type shit.
But still, like the Silicon Valley people aren't gonna fly to India.
I think people our age would for the price, especially you can fundraise to cover it.
All right.
Yeah, I wanted to mention 3 things. So I had a house at Drew whose family owns like a bunch of colleges. So I talked to someone about this idea, and so I think he'd be down for that. Second is OpenAI. They're very interested in India, so it's like, you know, they would be interested. I don't know about sponsoring this iteration, but you know,
They want to separate the market.
exactly. It's just, you know, so many developers. Like, you know, in the beginning of the social network, Zuckerberg's like talking to Throw and being like, hey, there's more, you know, geniuses or people who consider to be geniuses in India than there are Americans, period.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so. So for 600 a month, basically, like you effectively do what HF0 is doing for people. Like that's a big part of their value add, right? It's like we take care of literally everything, so you can just focus on the market.
Yeah, just how they do almost international boarding school. It's like international accelerator, kind of like a really cool idea. And your ammunition is so cheap to add.
Like approached me like, oh, do you want to co-found something? I was like, is it because I'm American or, you know, just because we're you know, friends? But it's just crazy how many like really cool people there in India doing things pretty much just like volunteer.
I just had a major win myself with, I have a dev on a certain project, and we just set up, actually it's won twice now. We set up automated YC co-founder matching bots that'll just auto send out invites and then book a call. And that's turned into one guy from UMish who's gonna like lead this like social verse, Holy Bible type app. Then another guy for Workplate. So like, this is where I'm seeing just like these AI automated systems which just pull in and maximize serendipity or kind of solve the need is so powerful. And that's like creating the ultimate accelerator is really where I think Eli's like insanely based and goated inside of thinking in that idea space. I think that's like why something you pitched to Steel Perlow is what you told me, and like, you know, they didn't fully see it, but that's just because their fund was set up differently than...
They're ready to fund it when I go back to them.
Yeah.
Nice. They're not good at themselves, but I'm ready to go back.
Yeah, I think it's just like they raised money from LPs not under that thesis model, but the thesis model is based as fuck.
Yeah, they'll fund it.
What makes it the best accelerator?
What?
Like, what's different about it from other accelerators?
It's just like, it has a talent model built into it, right? Where it's like what I was explaining to you about like the convertible grant system. It's like a way to de-risk capital and to de-risk like builders. And it's like a rolling hackathon sort of model where it's like, I don't want to fund like a full-on company and put in $1 million where I can just like give them 10,000 or pay them, you know, over a monthly basis to de-risk the idea from a proof of concept to an MVP. And then if it looks good enough, right, fund it into an entire company. But if it doesn't turn into a company, we can just fund it as a research project with grants and nonprofit dollars. And so there's a way to like utilize tax benefits tax write-offs, right, to write off these grants, right, and a lot of those may be hit or miss, right, but in that sense, it's like saving for-profit dollars that aren't going to count to your bottom line, and so from that perspective, you're, utilizing the for-profit and non-profit models simultaneously to de-risk, your overall expenditure, and I think it's a good way to, what I was explaining to you is having venture-backable ideas or templates that we're willing to fund and having a list of those and seeing that all the big funds now are trending towards that direction where they want to be funding really talented people like developers or just people coming out of schools, right, that may not necessarily have a good idea, but we have something that we want them to work on. We can pay them to work on that, right, and get them to milestones, hit those milestones, and then you can unlock different funding rounds, right, based off of that. So you can structure whatever that looks like.
So I think this kind of thing that we could actually take an overview or generalize this space that we're kind of all seeing is capital is inefficient at creating real world value today, that this is getting disruptive. And when I think about this, I think like actually what we're disrupting is like venture capital itself.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, Lucas.
You're taking venture model to build to talent. Right?
Yes, and if you create a good enough effective system for this, you're capitalizing on top of the innovation market itself, of how capital transforms into the creation of new value. It's creating a hyper-efficient Google
We're
Apps.
merging capital and talent, and that's like with the biggest problems that they need to solve, right? That's what we're aligning. It's the flywheel, right? We already said the flywheel is capital, talent, big ideas that they need to solve. Big problems.
And AI
is obviously that problem.
Makes your ecosystem moat really big because you can automate a lot of this stuff, but it also makes the moat of talent acquisition a way easier, serendipity maximizing, finding good co-founders, pairing them with the right idea, doing higher IQ tests, or like I think we were talking about a future FQ test can be created.
I've heard of that.
Founder quotient, it's like, I was talking to Jim O'Neill about like, hey, could we like get the Theo Fellowship data of applications, and could we potentially try to backtrace a model which could see just based on what someone submitted in their application, can we have an AI detect what should be higher score? And so we can actually build a model based on what the actual outcome was.
What was Vitalik's application?
Yeah, so how can we identify some of these qualities? Maybe they're not asking the right questions, but these questions do exist. Like the founder quotient test does exist, but a piece of that is like somewhat of the bigger founder quotient thing that I think is always being talked about is it's always just belief. It's always just getting someone onto the path and de-risking them. Giving them comfort and security and making them believe in themselves is the moat. The vibes are the moat in a big sense. And I think that being able to do that at the most effective resourceful scale, that's just gonna fucking win at the end of the day. Somewhat of like, not just accelerators, but like boot camps. And I think that this can turn into content. I really think that the future is like, if we take two of the biggest people in the world, and we have Mr. Beast and Elon, the middle of that is where the future really belongs, which is where the world watches the world innovate. And they're a part of that process, the feedback system. So it's a Shark Tank which exists within the world.
You're scraping innovation.
We have a giant warehouse. 1,000 founders are starting here, and the last one is getting $5 million of investment capital.
To build their It's Squid Game for fucking
yes.
It's Squid Game for like talent, dude.
That's the trend with the open source models going
And so I think like if we do basically just focus on this, that it's if you just build a better system for this, your compound interest is insane. The ecosystem that we build towards these really big ideas, we can just like spin them up.
I think talent, problem, capital.
That's your flywheel.
Well, I would push back because I don't think we'll be better at VCs in terms of raising capital.
No.
We can't beat them at that yet. But then
we don't need to
be
be those.
Exactly.
It's about innovation.
Okay,
we're building better models of like right now. Seed funding is overvaluing the founders who actually just go to MIT or have this name. And so they shouldn't be able to value themselves at $10 million in the matter of 4 months. This was I'm really happy for my friend Tom, who was able to just leave his job and then raise $2 million at a $12 million valuation just with a website.
That's what I did.
But it's this isn't max efficiency.
This is not that.
The reason why venture as a whole, that entire industry, I think is at an impasse, is because the last 10 years they've just been riding this wave of this massive tech innovation sort of cycle, which we are ending, right? It's not the same. Those returns are not going to be the same, right? And so everyone thought that they're a genius the past 10 years. That's not the way. Venture funds they completely depend on deal flow. The only thing they're always searching for is deal flow, is supply, is the ability to invest capital. It's not about raising the capital or deploying it. It's about being able to deploy it into good companies that are going to generate high ROI. That's what they need. What we're doing, this model solves that, right? Venture doesn't solve that themselves because they're always looking for deal flow. This creates deal flow, all right? It's organic. It's organic deal flow from the start, okay? That model brings in the talent because venture is always looking for talent, which equates to deals. You're looking for a good talent that's going to, build a good company that ultimately you want to invest in. And you want to sort of bake in that whole sourcing process within this model, which we're doing, bake in the whole due diligence process, which we're doing, and then the funding process. So it solves that whole process of the venture issue, which is sourcing high quality deal flow, by baking in the talent component into it, where we are generating our own deals from this model, from this program, because our top of the funnel is bringing in top talent, attracting them by solving big problems with, the best ideas that they want to use to solve them, by incentivizing them with investing in them, funding them, giving them a chance to attack this problem, helping them build their team, helping them discover what their real go-to-market is, and finding PMF. And so that's what this does. Whereas venture is always going to be searching for that next deal. They're always going to be depending on that. This doesn't, okay?
Yeah, we can get them from ground one and help build them rather than just get them when they're
It's talent model. Like why are
It's talent
sports
first.
Yeah,
sports more effective?
They're better at talent sourcing.
they
Yes.
started when people were 2 years old.
And they capitalize at such a lesser amount.
They're looking at these guys in junior high who are like 6'7" and like already dunking on their teammates.
Yes, and this was such a personal problem for me, was like, I just wanted to have a capability to not go to Subway for minimum wage, to work on the biggest fucking vision I could imagine that could help the world a lot, and get minimum wage. And that didn't exist. And that made me think that building companies and trying to innovate wasn't worth it. And that's actually the cultural dogma that exists. And I have to remember that used to be my mindset, and that I used to be afraid of being an innovator, but that is like the actual cultural dogma that exists in most America, is that business is very risky. Now that's getting destroyed as the truth comes out, because now we're having more access to the people's truths, just from their social media platforms, etc. And I think one piece of this is also this type of coordination stuff was never as possible as it is today. So there's been lots of movement in just the foundational capability for, number one, people to understand this type of thing as like a good life path, the amount of excitement towards it, the capability to organize and actually scale something like this. Like, these are all things that just weren't possible before.
I was thinking basically, what are two things we can each sort of specialize in, right? So it's like, okay, I'm going back to school, so I can be academics, sort of more academically Boston. And then you're saying about recruiting people to join your society. I'm thinking more about recruiting people to work on better problems. Like 60% or the majority of Harvard students go into big tech and
banking,
finance.
right?
Exactly. And these aren't good, meaningful.
How do we steer more people away from these big, what do we call it, behemoth, monolithic industries that are just soul sucking, right?
Yes.
How do we take them? How do we steal them away from the hedge funds and big banks and
Enlightened capitalism.
We want them to know that they can be change makers and actually reach their full.
We need crusaders on missions.
Solve a big problem, right?
Missionaries, not mercenaries.
They're afraid because it takes a lot of resources, right? And it's also a big risk to try to solve this big problem because they're afraid that, okay, if it doesn't work, we failed. We go back to square one, we go back to zero.
And when you get to college, it's like majors lead you to jobs, you have career fairs, go to
but
jobs.
But college doesn't equal a job though either, right? Where you want to solve that problem as well. Where it's you get paid to build prototypes or build a project that you want to build, right? We give you resources to focus on what you want to build and find what you want. We are fostering talent. We are fostering the next sort of wave of innovation by targeting the talent that will create that next wave of innovation, right?
I gotta go. So I think the big thing is college is risky in the sense that it's risky not taking a risk. And then James, I think that's the most experience out of all this in terms of housing. There can be a network there in terms of the network state. You can have membership as a part of it. A lot of people have tried this. I think residency can basically fit into incubator matching of it doesn't necessarily have to be one residency. You can have multiple residencies in India, wherever. And then I think mentorship in terms of a bunch of people who've already succeeded.
Yeah, supporting them through the journey.
Exactly. I think this is super interesting for all of us. I've never been. I don't know if you guys have been. And then also the automation. A lot of times, I think we are all idea guys, but not necessarily
executing. Right. We're creating the model to execute on all.
Manifestation engine.
It's our manifesting destiny, right? In a good way. It's a manifestation engine, right? We all are good idea guys, right? We're architects, and that's what we are, but we need to architect a way to execute our vision and put those into practice. That's all by aligning capital with talent, with, you know, these big problems that need to be solved. So we know that that's our end goal. Like that, if you want to build your thesis, that's it, right there. You stamp it, and that's what it is.
And Eli's already been an EC. Like, I know you're starting a fund, and then everyone here has thought of doing a fund, but like it's a lot of work. And so I think the grant, you know, convertible notes that you were talking about, and a whole accelerator part would be interesting because I think we all agree that like the next YC can be made, but it has to be.
It'll incorporate these components that they're There we go.
I guess it's kind of obvious, but anyway, so the synthesis on my end is we're building a funnel, takes the world's best young talent and helps them focus, working on the world's actually biggest problems / like whatever they want to work on. And I think each of us, like Lucas was saying, sort of is perfectly suited for tackling like a distinct layer of this funnel. Like the top is the pipeline building and recruiting. And then after that is like, okay, physical space, I can do that. The next layer is in that physical space, how do we build sort of the ideal optimal environment for them to just, you know, lock in on whatever it is they want to do. That's you and you, both in bringing the cost down and then just giving them all the resources they need so they don't have to think about anything else. And then the last layer is you, which is figuring out how to turn this into like
what they're building, funding them, getting them out, getting them on the board. We want points on the board, right? That's the whole point. You need wins. You need to start winning. You need to start making money. Right? That's the whole point. You need to start changing the world, right? That's the whole point.
So
get them out,
getting them to like a fundable project startup, and you know, having upside in that both for them and for us. And then the last thing also, which
it's portfolio management after that. It's a portfolio management model where you actually de-risk and ahead with the future industries. You take a bet on what the biggest industries are, the highest growth industries at the end of the decade are going to be AI and digital assets. I used to the engine. Technology, and you have to take a long bet on that and de-risk in the interim, hedge your downside, right? While you're taking a big long bet on that, and you hedge alpha with beta, right? In that market, I can go into the whole details in that, but essentially it's a way to take a very long fucking bet on these industries, right? And then you're doing that with your talent. Your talent then represents the fucking index, because you're indexed super heavily in these markets, and that's actually what it represents. And so I think those are really interesting financial instruments that you can actually kind of create around this talent, because your talent becomes your index at the end of the day. And there's a lot there, right? To, you know, make sure that it's going to be profitable at the end of the day. You're not going to lose. So what we didn't do is like take a diversified Warren Buffett sort of approach to talent.
I gotta go. See you in Stanford, Boston, inevitably like tomorrow, and then India.
And the last thing is media and content. Like tons of media and content.
Content. All right, see you, Lucas. We need to reach a spiritual singularity prior to the technological one.
So lots of content to just, I think that's, as this is all built out and we make a lot of content and media around it, we can obviously develop like a way bigger following and brand around what we're doing, which I think counts for a lot.
Sooner is better.
So I think that's it.
That's it.
What are action steps?
Good work. No, we're done. Great.
That's it.
Hey,
we're just ideas guys.
We're just the idea guys.
We don't do action.
I gotta work. I'll send this to 5,000 Indians and
have them fucking build it. Produce. India.
So we should write out action. So I'm starting this one. I guess Lucas is also doing this. So me and Lucas are doing this right now. So
Residency is happening.
Residency is happening.
I'm also starting a survey. I want to do a research study on people who go to college or people who drop out of college, so we can hopefully prove to the rest of the world like this is a better path for people to get educated and be like more mentally healthy in the world.
Absolutely.
So
let's just prove it by having people drop out and then showcasing them get rich.
But I think like having actual numbers will convince a lot more people.
Fuck academia.
Numbers convince
research.
People.
What do we need to convince them for? For money. What do we need to do? Raise a fund. Boom. Let's just raise the fund. Put the pieces together and go after the fund.
Yeah, I think getting the fund is the most important.
Need money to do it.
Capital.
Yeah, when I like Constitution outline the description. We can work on the deck together, but I will write out the accelerator model.
That kind of cool. Those grant models will be interesting.
I have a lot of prior work done on this.
Me too. Right? We've written this out before. I'm sure we all have this ready to. We just need to put it all together again, right?
Yeah,
I've done it before.
I have one new agreement that I made that was like similar to the shared earnings agreement. If you've heard that, that's what Calm Fund uses, and also profits.
I like the profit share. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big. I like that a lot. Getting tap into the profit share.
I'll send you that. And
send me that.
That's the program.
version.
Okay.
And then I added an income share agreement into it.
Yeah, put the ISA on top of that. That's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I love that. That's great.
So what if you had to call this whole stack or funnel one thing? What would it be? Is it the university of the future? Is it a new accelerator? Is it what would
Uni-celerator.
Manifest engineering.
Innovation pipeline.
The Manhattan Project for Innovation.
I think these all sound good.
Okay, we'll figure it out. We'll get it.
The Manhattan Project for people.
Yeah. We're telling Manhattan Project for
It would be cool if we could. Well, it's not like everything, but if we could come up with like a name to sort of tie it all together, and then raise like a fund or something.
And I think the fund can be like scholarships for people going through these co-living programs. Because like people will pay for it, but it's like, oh, if you need a scholarship.
Yeah.
Oh, Jason Ben is
Omega Fund. One fund to rule them all.
It's good.
Yeah.
Alright.
It's finished?
I'm gonna take a picture of this. Cool job for Lucas putting that all forward.
Yeah, those are all the people missing.
You're not gonna have your AI agent turn it into a pitch deck automatically? You can't just take a photo and use your
Just turn it into a
shortcut?
It would have to have really good NLP or what is it? Natural writing.
Yeah, you gotta feed it the audio of this too.
Yeah, to match it.
Oh, I got read AI on this. It'll give me main points and topics that we talked about.
What were you saying on this?
And there's this other group. So I met Ozzy on Friday, and then there's Miles, and then there's Sam Troutwine.
So Ozzy and Troutwine, those are like my little mates.
Right.
Like we all lived together and worked at Eric's fund.
Cool.
We were all partners. Like we all went to Burning Man.
Nice.
We're like 3 musketeers practically. But I was like my main squad.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it feels. I mean, definitely super overlapping with this.
Oh,
but
yeah. I lived with Ozzy. I lived with both of them. They're both my roommates. Right?
Okay.
That was good
Yeah.
content.
But there's definitely a lot of vibe alignment, and you guys' orbit, and then also
Vibe alignment.
Miles.
Yeah, Miles Howard.
That's a keyword.
So what's Miles working on again?
He does deep tech investing, and then he's very interested in like new governance structures for AI.
There is no
Yeah.
AI alignment problem. It's a vibe alignment problem.
It's very accurate.
Bro.
We need a vibe alignment. Revolution.
We need the Holy Bible.
Wait, what is so similar projects? HF0, I'd say build space.
Take this.
Jason Ben is doing something very similar with the neighborhood. Yeah, he started funding cohorts where they pay for your housing and everything.
Sometimes I think when
Yeah.
you take something that's super complete, like we want to do it exactly like this, you actually do worse than just
You
taking
need
it.
it amorphous. You need to leave it amorphous so that
Yes.
it can thrive. What you need is don't get too rudiment, don't get too structured. We need to keep it open enough for creativity to seep in.
And for super high level connections, because super high level connections love an amorphous but highly
They love to
talented
be
group.
able to like put their sort of genius into it, insert their genius. So we leave it.
So that's there.
We leave the structure, we leave the foundation there, but we don't put in all the fucking furniture and
part of what I think could be
keep
the
keep the skeleton, keep the
part of
shell.
what I think could be the greatest way to actually manifest this, because me and Nick already planted somewhat of a seed, is we met with Dave Fontenot. And so I think if we all go to Dave and we're just stacked and we just like jam on this in the same way. He obviously has jammed on all this as well, and like I think he could just move the mountains that we need to move.
Who's that guy again?
HFO.
Yeah, no, they're cool. Okay.
Do you have Steel Perlow, like, and they want to fund you to do something similar?
When I'm ready to go to them, like they're very, they want to, they're very interested in funding my next project, potentially, right?
So that's also an angle. And 1517 fund, I feel like could get behind this too. Could get the intro to Peter Thiel.
That's easy.
I think I can get it from Jim.
That's
too.
easy. The PT's easy. I was just with them a month ago.
Did you talk about this at all?
We talked about Taiwan and the Antichrist.
Dude, I want to fucking rip on that subject.
Ozzy and I were at the Palladium event, and it was just us. It was just him and I and Peter, and we were just like jamming on. I told him how Taiwan was gonna get invaded and timelines and how we were gonna defend Taiwan, and he's like, no. I was like, we're just gonna cut off China from the source. We'll cut them off at the Persian Gulf so they don't have any oil. They'll be on their knees in 2 weeks. He's like, no, that'll fuck Japan and South Korea. I'm like, no, we can just make sure they're sending ships to those two countries, but we'll cut off China's supply. He's like, we had some back and forth, and I had some good points that he liked.
What was the? I was more interested in the Antichrist point. Yeah.
Ozzy was really deep in the Antichrist.
That's the biggest thing we need to worry about.
He said that
the man who tries to make
Sam
himself
Altman is the Antichrist because he's gonna bring AGI to Sam Altman. He was like talking about his like.
PT is schizo.
Did Thiel have thoughts?
PT is definitely.
Thiel had thoughts. I forgot what they were talking about, like the four horsemen and stuff.
I was at a Palladium event on Friday, and Ozzy was talking about how Thiel was telling people to read this book about some secret civilization that's digging tunnels under Earth or something. It was really.
Said that? that.
Something along those lines, yeah.
Let's do it.
But you want the camera back?
Okay.
James is like,
I don't need to roll, but this is fucking dope.
Yeah.
Are you literally gonna roll?
We'll follow up on all this, alright?
Yep, for sure.
Alright, well.
Yeah, let's all make a group chat. That's what Lucas says. We should actually.
Yep,
Let's
down.
do a group chat. with
Down.
everyone.
And we should loop in your friends.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I think they love all this stuff.
Massive group chat, massive
I mean,
GC.
most group chats suck, but I think this one will actually be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think knowing the people who are on it is
True,
helpful.
yeah.
It's like, who
Duh,
knows? I
right?
don't know the face to them.
And there's so many random group chats of it, which is be chaos. But this will be a good one. Yeah. Cool.
We just need to form the wedge.
You always say the wedge.
The wedge is super important. Like,
Yes! See? You motherfucker! I do always say the wedge. The wedge is super important.
You gotta start somewhere. And I feel like co-living is basically the thing. Like, I feel very confident getting a lot of young people to come through the residency. Because, like, people this year, the whole year, we were planning to pay for them, and, like, that got them excited. And then at the very last minute, we were like, okay, you're gonna have to pay for it. They're like, cool, I'm still down. And so we had more than enough people apply. So I think, like, getting people is not gonna be super challenging. Getting good ones will be definitely challenging. But, like, if we have all of this going, like, we'll have so many people to come in. And it's just like, okay, where do we funnel them to? And, like, India, I think
And
is
if
very-
we're doing, look, here's the biggest moat that's so untapped is people who are own the fund doing fucking YouTube and making it somewhat more of like fun to compete. You get more better deal flow. People want to just be friends with you and a part of the story because it's all stories. It's the world's a stage.
They gotta like you. Though.
And why are funds, which funds are like literally companies who are like Shark Tank in the real world, who are like, yeah, we're gonna write you, you know, $250,000 check. People want to watch that process happen. That's sick.
I want to get money from Mark Cuban just because he's on Shark Tank.
Yeah, you know, there's so much a fund that YouTube's is. I just like.
What if the application process was like, this is getting pretty into the weeds, which we don't need to do. But if the application process was like, okay, TikTok Live, your interview, and then you see all the people who got through.
No, all of this, it's gonna be. We're gonna have our own fundraising app. We can do everything that's
This is
great.
definitely on the weeds though.
This is where
Yeah.
we need the manifestation engine. So where do we start? It's raising a fund. Eli probably has the highest level capability to drive the wedge. Dave also is wedge goated. See, I'm looking for basically wedge goats.
And like, yeah, I don't know if Dave would be into doing something new because he's already.
Yeah.
No.
Dave's
He
already got
wouldn't-
his own.
He wouldn't do it, but he could manifest it for
He could
us.
help introduce people.
He could instantly have us close something.
What is I think this is important and it's not too in the weeds. Like, what kinds of projects are you guys envisioning people working on? Like, I think we are pretty aligned on like what the things are. And also, I'm a big proponent of like if the person is just cool and like roughly vibe aligned, it's like just let them work on whatever the hell they want to work on. But I'm curious what you guys think.
People to like work on whatever they want to work on.
Yeah.
A few ideas that I have, like two that I worked on previously that I would still love to see exist. One, Robinhood for real estate. Two, a news engine that helps fight against political polarization by not showing priests of one content view, but seeing all the content on a particular topic.
Max Pigmark, I think, worked on a project like that, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it.
I mean, those are just like two ideas.
Here-
Sounds great. Yeah, sounds good.
Personally, I think that what we want to do is we want to change the game where we don't have enough great ideas. And so how we can do that is literally with $1 million, I think we can have 100 times more efficient fund that can have it act like 100 mil just in terms of how much founder potential we spawn onto the exponential path. And that means doing it through universities and through interns at the earliest stage in India are being to the American market. To me, that is the epitome of resourcefulness of buying innovation. If we kind of go from a first principle standpoint and we look at founder or like IQ time pushing towards an innovative idea, where a lot of these ideas are in the idea space high level, we're good architects of ideas, then how do you just get IQ to start attacking and spearheading that idea and turn it into reality? Then this model is where we are, is youth, driving them to exponential path, driving them to innovate, doing that maximally resourcefully. You know, I'm spawning proof cases of this as we speak.
I totally agree. I think you have like India is such a good market.
Yeah.
You've got it down, and I think we shouldn't be limited to that because there are people who don't want to go to India.
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
So we can.
For sure.
We have like the amount of people now to like make all of it happen.
Yes.
And I think there are a lot of network effects that happen too when people travel between the two.
Yes, so I think the biggest thing is actually like the venture studio model that works amazingly well is you do want to have a boots on the ground SF person or just American. So the best thing in the world is to MVP stack a development team. Like right now we're having this guy come on from Michigan who just met with like my lead developer. He's basically been just leading the whole like we've made like 15 different apps. We have an EAC app, a white pill app, you know, the social diversity empowerment Powerverse, the Holy Bible one. He's just been creating fucking frameworks of them. You know, Viral University for this one influencer. It's like a Patreon plus TikTok. He's just one guy. And I gave him my ammunition system. He's a barrel guy. I gave him the ammunition system, and he's got a few interns that we pay $100 a month. We're goated and help complete everything he needs. And it's like...
Are you paying the UMich intern?
No, so the UMich guy is like, he worked at a venture studio, he was at something else. He was on Y Combinator co-founder search. Our bot booked a call. Him and Michael were bonded super well. He's super about the idea of like building the empowerment algorithm. Like that is what aligned AI is or like how do we align AI today, not tomorrow? It's through media and through creating tools and ecosystems which push and search for higher vibrational states and empower humanity to reach higher vibrational states.
So you are
Holy
paying
Spirit
or not?
No, he is going to go fundraise. So our next meeting is him pitching me, going through all the materials, and then it's me just connecting him at UMich. There's Bobby Husel, who was on
Oh no, I know that
Founder
guy.
Cupid.
You gotta catch up with him.
He
I like his vibe.
I'm gonna have to roll.
All right.
yeah.
But this was hype. I'm excited to see what comes from it.
I've been closing a bunch of people on this recruitment stack. I onboarded 4 people for Jacob Cole. What's that?
Did you get money coming in?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm upselling it like quite a decent amount. So like for Jacob, for example, I think my actual cost is $2,400, and I think we agreed on $4K per person. So it'll be like $1,600. So it's like $4K a month passive income now for as long as he keeps these engineers. And these engineers cost for some people he's paying like $15, $20K a month right now. So they cost a fourth. I think he's gonna keep them relevant.
Interesting. If you need help on that to some capacity.
Yeah, we can rip on, and I can just show you the stack. This is like how I consider it. This is the preliminary version of the manifestation engine. And I've written out all the components of where this engine goes, and kind of like all these different parts of it that we're talking about are, I think, pieces of flow into some sort of manifestation engine. And so we can sort of think about like the beginning is like idea sourcing, then we're founder product market fit sourcing, then we're MVP building to choose finalists, then we're getting them to build MVP farther, then we're having them do co-founder search, because this is then India's reaching out to the American sort of network. And then there's lots of pieces of this that hyper make this funnel even cooler and more automated. And, you know, I'm adding little updates here and there, but definitely I can show you it. I think like you can build some passive income streams while we raise a fund. I do think like we should just wedge on raising the fund. I think if we truly just say, how do we raise the fund the fastest that we can? And we like attack our brain power towards that. And we all just like, you know, meet up and just do our separate parts of it, then we're going to win.
And yeah, we should also write out, it's not a requirement for the people going through this, but we should write out suggested like project ideas, cause areas that we think are important, values, beliefs, things like that. You know, like a mission statement, a little bit of an ideology, which by the way, I think that we are all super aligned on all that stuff. Which is great, which is why I think this is kind of like coming together. But anyway, yeah, I think that's honestly, I think that's maybe the next thing we should do is like, before we even figure out the structure of this stuff, write that out. It's like values, beliefs, project ideas, and cause areas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Values, beliefs, cause areas, ideas.
Which, yeah, systemic altruism. It's like it already has a lot of this. I made this site last year called Long-Termist Ambitious Doers, where I listed out all of the cause areas and projects that I could think of. Nick mentioned a few on his way out. Eli has obviously thought a lot about this, and I think has his own list. I'm sure Lucas has his as well. So yeah, I think we should pull all that together and be like, boom, here's the vibe of like what we want to see. Because I mean, the last thing I want to happen to this is we build this whole thing and it becomes yet another like bullshit incubator accelerator that, you know, like becomes hyper focused on making LPs happy about their annual returns because fuck them. And yeah, I want people working on what they want to work on and stuff that will like really move the needle for the future. And you know, making money is important too, but like we shouldn't be, if we become too obsessed with that, like 90% of Silicon Valley, then we will completely fuck the whole thing up. And also that's how you get the best people.
Enlightened capitalism.
You let them work on what they want to work on instead of being like, oh, you know, throw ads on this or like, you know, monetize it prematurely. It's like you let them work on what they fucking want to work on, and you support them, and you build a great community for them, and you nudge them a little bit on like, hey, I think these cause areas are important, but you don't force them to do anything, and that's how you get the best people. If you're going to do the VC thing where you force them to monetize or you know, turn it into some gross perverted thing that veers really hard away from the actual mission or what the founder wants to do, then you lose out on the best people and you make the world a shittier place.
Yep.
So VCs, we're not going to let you do that this time. And there's a couple of VCs that are good. Like I think Founders Fund is pretty cool, but I think most VCs suck.